You will probably get the answer why I'm not communism in the end of the video when you listen to my reasons, and you will understand what is going on. I listened to this expert on world system politics and world system science, and follower or co-worker with Wallerstein and Georgy Derulgian. He was born in Russia, of course, and he talked about the crisis of today is crisis with overproduction, and one of the causes of this, and one of the not causes follow-ups, or what we are overproducing. One of the things that we are overproducing is educated workers, people who used to work in construction and some shitty jobs or and factories creating cars, making cars or something along those lines. Today they get more educated, and the number of the people who get educated is more and more progress, or say rising. It means that in the end of the of capitalism, we have too many people that have good education, and we can't simply hire them all. Simply can't find the jobs. Even today, we have something around 50% of the bullshit jobs. Bullshit jobs, it's a simple concept. You do nothing when you at your job. You do not produce, you do not create something, etc., etc., etc. It's like realtors, or barmen, or waitress, prostitutes, etc., etc., managers, of course, included in this. Many showbiz people, like painters or artists, etc. That's bullshit jobs. People simply doing nothing while they getting salary. Nothing really important. And we have like something around like 50% of this bullshit, of this kind of the bullshit jobs. And in my numbers that I cited in my monologues previously, I said that, and these numbers is simply a suck out of the finger, clearly took from thin air, let's say. I said that maybe at best 30% of world population is working in agricultural production. Maybe 10% is producing something real, like factory workers or something along those lines. It means that the rest, the 50-55% of the population producing absolutely nothing meaningful. Well, except the governments, of course, they doing the job. Outside the police, maybe they policing. Let's say that they producing something that really needed, and it's order. Order is very important stuff. But many people would not say that. So we get, like, if we took away all those bullshit jobs, which can exist only in capitalism, we took away those bullshit jobs and creating the world where only 40% left of the people who stay at jobs that mean something at least. And of course, when we took away 60% of population, or 50%, let's say for beginning 50% of population, we took away those people from the system. It means that the rest of the 40% will produce times and times less people, times and times less goods. Sorry. They produce less food, they produce less products, they produce less of everything. And let's say we need 10% of current world population to produce food and supply us with some products. And don't forget about robotization of all kind of industries. It means that something that used to was done by some kolkhoz in Soviet Union Today we need only one farmer family with wife and 2 children to produce the same amount of products, the food, let's say. It means that the job that used to was done by, I don't know, hundreds of people today can be done by 5 people at best. With robotization, with progress, with technologies. So we reduce our population literally to, at best, 1 billion people who produce something that worth something at least. And where we're gonna take the rest of the population? Today we already have almost 8 billion people, and at all the best estimates, we need on this planet for most billion people. Billion people spread all across the earth will not produce, will reproduce any kind of goods possible. They will go into space, they will go into other planets, they create innovations, they produce enough of the goods, food, etc., and at the same time they will produce, of course, less trash. The biggest problem of communism, and here we come to the topic of the video, why I'm not communist. The biggest problem of communism, while it's absolutely 100% the best for the working people, 100% it will benefit all working people at the planet. While it is perfect system for working people, it can sustain 8 billion people. And we assume that we're gonna get someday 9 or 10 billion people. And with higher standards of living for workers, improvement of lives, improvement in healthcare that will be accessible for everyone, improvement in education, etc., we can reach as far as 15 or 20 billion people on this planet. But even today, we clearly see that 50%, at least 50% of population doing pretty much nothing except sharing the capital that produced. So in this situation, blindness of communism, of this problem, and you can call me, I don't know, bad person, man-eating, I don't know, that I hate people, or say whatever you want, say whatever you like. The survival of humanity is the most important point for me. Nothing about to be good. I'm the person who described usually by the phrase, with good intentions we paved the road to hell. I am the one. And you can call me like the person like that. But my most important goal is to create livable and sustainable living for the future generations. Future generation doesn't mean 100 or 200 or 500 years from now. I mean thousands and thousands of years. We must sustain our humanity at this planet in some shape or form. At least thousands of years. Even communism doesn't count that mathematics. Even communism can build on society in, I don't know, 100 or 150 years from now, can build a beautiful world for the working people, yet the problem with humanity is that humanity is disease. Humanity is a virus that thrives on the organism that they was created in, let's say. Something went wrong, as with the cancer. One part of us start to grow too fast. There is too much of us, and it's don't come out, and that's don't go like, the problem don't go like we don't have enough food to produce, even though we drain the soil right now. As for estimates, we can feed something around 10 billion people right now. It means when we reach 10 billion people, the amount of producing food will be pretty much the same. Maybe it will be a little bit spread through the world, but overall, we still will gonna produce the same amount of food. It means we're gonna use the same amount of soil. It means we will drain the soil at the same level, maybe a little bit. Maybe we will rise production of food in parts of the world like Africa, Middle East, and Russia, of course, because Russia have huge amounts of not used soil to produce foods. Maybe we will spread a little bit this, but the problem will be that the problem will stay. We will produce the same amount of food, and it means we will drain the soil at the same level, and we're draining it right now. Erosion of the soil is just mind-boggling, and no matter how many deserts we will make it green, it doesn't change. It will not change the problem at all. We will produce the same amount of trash. We will soak up all kind of resources. Yes, we will produce less amount of goods, less amount of products, and we will, of course, will be like, if we produce less products, it means that we use less resources. But if don't forget that today, like, I don't know, couple billion of people do not really participate in consumption. Maybe in the best world possible of communism, we will live without consumption, without consumerism, etc., etc., and the goods that are consumed now by people in the West will be consumed also by people in the East and Asia, Africa, etc., and therefore the level of consumption will not grow. Maybe it will even go a little bit down. Yet the levels of production draining our natural resources with, I don't know, light speed, let's say 300-400 years from now, and we simply will drain everything, if not even faster in some areas. So in essence, it means that communism doesn't take into account that we have a very limited amount of resources. Even many people will say, let's use wind turbines, let's produce solar panels to collect solar power, or let's use water to produce energy, etc., etc. It doesn't fill all the gaps at all. Yes, robots will produce stuff and maybe something will be done, but trucks, they simply can't go too long at the same amount of electricity, and electricity needs to be produced in that to replace oil, to replace diesel fuel. It's just mind-boggling if you count it. So overall, we need to reduce population, because communism can be absolutely wonderful and beautiful for billion of people. At best, for the billion of people, when there is small communes that talk to each other, that interact with each other, that trade with each other, etc., etc. But when there is billion of people, communism was created when there wasn't even 1.5 billion of people at this planet. And yes, Marx was right. For the billion of population that we can create such communist society, world society, communist economy. But when we count that since then population grows 5 times, it means that we screw. We're wasting resources, we're trashing our planet, and like virus, we want to survive and spread ourselves to another organisms that we want to infect, and just like our Earth, drain it and turn it to desert, let's say. So it means that but when I trying to talk with communists about such topics, and with normal people, of course, I get, of course, accepted, let's say, not accepted, but people look at me like you're man-eating, you hate humans, etc., etc. I'm absolutely not. I'm 100% have vice versa ideology, let's say. I absolutely care about humanity as a whole. Yes, I do not care about single person. But I care about humanity as a whole, and communism do not provide the solution for the major problem of our humanity, of our existence, or our survival and thriving, and possibility of thriving for humanity by 2000 years from now. My ideology consists of the basic facts that we have too much bullshit jobs. We will not employ all those people, and if we will employ all those people, the level of consumption and level of production will not go down. It means that we will trash our planet with pretty much, well, let's say a little bit less rate. It means that nothing pretty much will change for the organism that we are thriving on. It means that nothing will change for amount of resources that we draining. It means that nothing going to change for us as humanity, as we have still the same amount of time to thrive and to be successful. And after this, everything will be drained. Nothing going to happen. Nothing going to change. The world will collapse. The society, even communist society, will collapse one way or another. So this is my problem with communism. While communism is all good, perfect system for the worker people, it does not good enough for the humanity as a whole. It does not solve the basic problem that we having right now. And even addressing this problem will, of course, always be seen as threat for the humanity at all, for the personal, egoistic human person threat. Even the conspiracy theorists, even conspiracy theorists who said that world elite want to reduce the population of Earth and want to keep billion people at the planet at best. They want to keep only the people who gonna serve them and oppress them by some kind of armed forces and etc. Well, why don't we, the people, do the same thing with rich people, with elites? Why don't we reduce the population on our terms and save humanity from inevitable ending? Doesn't matter. Capitalism will end anyway, one way or another. Whether it's going to end with huge major war and endless military conflict, or it's going to end with communism or socialism from the beginning, it doesn't absolutely matter how capitalism will end. It will end anyway. So why don't we, people of the earth, do something really good for prosperity of the future generations? Why don't we ourselves reduce the population on our terms so humanity in future can thrive, can really build the communism, can really build a system that truly benefit the working class? But communism can really, really be good for the billion of population, not for 10 billion of population. That's simply impossible. That's simply a ridiculous idea that we all will thrive just because we will build a communism. We are not. And that's the problem. That's my problem. That's my major beef with communism. While I'm absolutely both hands hands up for communism. I think that we first of all we decided the major problem of our world that existed for past 7,000 years. We will exclude the ruling class from the equation, and the ruling class will be the same class as production class, let's say, working class. They will acquire all this. They will do this job by ruling themselves. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, it should be done, of course, 100%. But communism, today's communism, and communism of Karl Marx does not solve the major problem. As this Daryl Young said, we will going to have, in the crisis of capitalism, we will going to have something like 50-60% of unemployment, because there is simply no jobs outside of capitalism, and capitalism is failing for these people, for people who have bullshit jobs. And he named numbers like up to 80% of unemployed people. And I'm absolutely agree with his numbers. I'm simply took these numbers from out of thin air, and I get the same numbers that he named. 50, 60, it's at least at best, but in reality it can be as high as 80% of unemployed people. One way or another, capitalism is ending. I know it's very, very hard concept for understanding for any kind of Western people, and for Americans especially, because they believe this system existed forever and will exist forever just because. But capitalism is ending, one way or another, good way or bad way. Capitalism is ending, and therefore we need to create something better for, first of all, for the working people. But even communism cannot decide the basic major problem of humanity as outside of social-economical systems. There is too many of us on this planet, and we act today like the virus. We already want to spread at another organisms like Moon, Venus, Mars, and Europe. We want to spread ourselves into the space to thrive on in different places, to exploit different places, to make it work somehow for us, to get more resources and thrive and drain our planet into infinity. It's very selfish, of course. We don't think about the future generations. We think only about our own ass. And in this question, the communists acting exactly like any kind of capitalism. They thinking that today's prosperity of the working class will provide us with some kind of solution in the future, when in reality there is no such solution. We will spread ourselves at another planets, and will, of course, exploit them just as Earth. And with every day, the population and, of course, the cancer will be growing. Will only grow, sorry. So that is why I am not a communist. I'm not even studying the problem. I don't even read the Marx, don't read Lenin, don't read Stalin, but I should, of course, to understand what I'm against. And why the hell you get the information when you really get old? Information that you need. Daryl saying exactly right, exactly correct. We have up to 80% of bullshit jobs in the Western world. And that's a problem. And that's a problem of our humanity. And it's not even mentioned that billions of people are doing absolutely nothing in African, Middle East countries, Asia, and even in Latin America. They also doing pretty much nothing. They do not produce anything, they do not consume anything, and they do not farming. How they survive, it's pretty much mystery for me. But They do not produce anything real. So that is my major beef with communism. If capitalism is absolutely 100% oppressive system that make use of free slaves, that is working people in the West, in the East, and pretty much everywhere in the world, communism is of course better system for the working class people, as they get to rule, as they get to decide what they want to do and how they want to do. It's very important question, of course, to decide to solve this problem, that instead of ruling elite, we will get ruling class, and the ruling class will be the whole world population. Of course, communism better this way, but this doesn't solve the major problem of our humanity today. We're soaking up resources, we drain our planet, we'll pretty much kill the organism that we live in, just as any other cancer there is. And we do not understand this problem. We want to thrive, we want to survive, and as egoistic as can be, people today and people 7,000 years ago have the same basic things. They want to survive and reproduce. The same things that virus want to do. Only we are very intelligent one. And that's a big problem. And we don't want to accept this problem. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe. I have to say in the end of the video, of course, that maybe I am wrong. Maybe there is solution. Maybe there is something that can be done, but it doesn't solve in any shape or form the problem at all. We will consume, we will produce, and we will, of course, drain the planet by resources, by soil, by wood production, etc. It means that we will gonna kill our planet someday, one way or another. We live in only 150 years in this state, and yet we already draining all the soul resources and trashing majority of the planet already. And this going in progression. This doesn't slow down, it's only growing. And that is why I never called myself a communist. I can't lie. I don't want to lie, let's say that. I don't want to lie. And if I can say truth, I will say truth. That is why I never, ever gonna call myself a 100% communist. Yes, I'm in support of communism. I think it's a better idea. I think it's gonna work. I don't think I know that it's gonna work someday. Not communism, but socialism at least. But I will never call myself a communist. I can't follow idea that doesn't solve the major problem that I see. And I'm not a great philosopher, I'm not a great thinker, I'm not economist, I'm not politician, I'm not political expert, etc. Don't take my words as statement that 100% absolutely correct, but that's what I see, the problem that I see in the world today, and the problem that I want to solve, that I think we all as humans should solve. So we need to change it, and we need to do it on our terms, not like conspiracy theorists said, that they simply abuse the power and reduce the world population. That is not about it. Everyone should be equal before this population reduction, let's say. Everyone should be equally threatened to this and involved into this. Everyone equally. It's very hard to understand concept for the people in general. Doesn't matter, capitalist or communist, or even some monarchist. Doesn't matter absolutely. I understand that there is no real solution. There is no real solution to this problem except one. We must reduce the population of the Earth and keep it low, so we can thrive as humanity for many, many, many thousand years after today. And maybe even went to space, and maybe even infect different planets, but with this mentality, that we must be virus that helping, that thriving inside the organism it infected, not harming, not killing it. We must, when we see cancer in our organisms, what we do? We cut it off, or we trying to kill it. But somehow we don't do the same for the Earth, for the only planet that we can live on. We don't do the same, but we must do that.